Judge Mershon, he's the latest and greatest to be making the headlines. He has basically said he's going to sentence the president no matter what. So now we're in this 11th hour because the sentencing is supposed to come before January 10th. And given that that's 3 days away, they definitely need to do something fast. So the Trump legal team has put forward a filing. Judge Juan Mershon has denied Donald Trump's request, of course, to postpone his conviction in that quote-unquote hush money case. And so I'm like, why is Judge Mershon the arbiter of everything? Like, why is he making all these decisions? Can we not escalate this to some adults in the room? Are there any adults in the room? I don't know. I get the feeling that you do have to go to the appellate level in order to get anybody intelligent, anybody smart. This was a case that even Alvin Bragg himself did not want to bring because it was a very challenging one to try to implicate the newly elected president. So even Alvin Bragg didn't want to bring it. Finally, somehow they convinced him to because, that's his ticket to his political career. So he did. And Judge Mershon, who should have recused himself. Remember, he's the guy whose daughter makes money off of all of the Trump emails where she's sending them to Democrats. She's working on behalf of the Democrat Party and trying to basically fundraise off of these cases. Yes, he should have recused himself. That's just a little too close. Church and state, buddy, church and state. He doesn't obviously believe in any kind of church and state. He figured he was free to do this because he had his own, if you ask me, personal vendetta. Consider what he said to the jury. Just pick an option, any option, A, B, or C. It doesn't really matter whether you think he's guilty of this crime or that crime. Just do you think he's guilty? Do you think he's guilty of a crime? And therefore, this is how you decide it. So that happened. And now we're in a situation where Donald Trump's team is saying, wait a second, why are you doing this? Why can't this wait? I'm just moving my camera around a little bit, guys, because of the sun and what we're getting here in Switzerland today. But this is effectively a situation now where you... I really am live. I'll be back in my studio later this week. But anyway, this is a situation where you have a very biased judge trying to do whatever he can in the 11th hour to really make Trump look bad. And I think that it's got to get to the appeals court as fast as possible. We do need adults to be stepping in. The sooner, the better. But it's not just that, right? I mean, in New York right now, you still have Letitia James out there. Good old Letitia, who's made it clear she'd love to bankrupt the guy.
4 days after a judge ordered Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud, New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court. And we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
Because that's the whole goal here, to somehow bankrupt him. I mean, think of how flawed that is. This is, to me, the most egregious case of all. Perhaps it's my background as a business reporter. I'm just disgusted by the idea that the state is going to come in between somehow an individual. Forget the fact that he's going to be the president, that he was the president. Just the fact that the state is trying to come in between an individual and a bank in a private transaction where there is no victim, and then try and charge him $500 million. It's nearly $500 million. I mean, this is absolutely, positively insane. And the Supreme Court, this Court of Appeals knows it. They know it, which is why if you listen, and I did a whole show on this, guys, I encourage you to go back and look at go to the Lawfare playlist because you'll see it there. I went and listened to the entire appeal, and you had someone representing Letitia James, and the judges just berated her. They were like, well, come on. Like, you guys don't even have a victim. What are you thinking? What are you doing? And how do we prevent something like this from happening again in the future? So I would just say to those judges, you know what? It's time to get off your you-know-whats and make sure that this comes through in the favor of the president, because it actually means a lot, if you would, for the future of New York City and for the future of New York's economy. This stuff really is pretty pretty wild. I mean, just absolutely wild to see. Another quick shout out to our sponsors over at American Heart for Gold for helping to make this show come to you free every day, making that possible. If you're interested in investing in gold, you know it's a big part of my own strategy in terms of diversification. I would encourage you to give them a ring or to go to trishlovesgold.com. Trish Loves Gold. We'll put that in the show notes too. Just give us a minute. We'll get that in for you. trishlovesgold.com or text Trish to 65532. You can also call them at 1-844-495-1115, 1-844-495-1115. In light of all this craziness, for goodness sakes, I look at the Letitia James case and I'm like, yeah, that's when you really want to make sure that you own gold, right? I mean, considering